Alright, let's finish this series off with the last map on Rialto. Let's go for it.
Again, Tita Watt on to the Winston. Ooh. Okay, show you got absolutely
Let's see.
there.
Change color of the pen.
But Kurtlog getting a bit of revenge there onto Swilko, so taste of his own medicine.
I don't even know how that happens. How do you lose people that early?
Straightforward stuff. Again, Tita Watt on to.
So there's obviously members on the high ground? No?
Okay, show you got absolutely destroyed.
Alright. If you're MindFreak, you definitely don't go through this door. Like, I understand you want a close hold, but you can't fight here. Like, this is complete no-no zone for them. If you fight at all, you fight on the cart, and then you fight on the corners. But like once you're back in this space, like it's so easy for DropBears to basically de-peek them and just walk away. So definitely don't do that. That's definitely how you can lose the fight instantly, and then it defeats the whole purpose of like basically fighting as close as you did. Because at minimum, if you fight near the door, you can usually cause the attacking team to like go up the stairs, like send the Diva up there, send the Zen up there, so like they will have like a bigger advantage in the fight. But if you just are killing yourself instantly as soon as the fight starts, then it defeats the whole purpose of like getting that early fight, because you just end up losing so early, and you potentially feed a lot of ult charge to Zen, Zarya, and then they're able to just farm the rest of your team. So you at least want to drag the fight out a little bit longer, because that fight's all about eating up as much time as you can and getting as many fights as you can on the point. A symptom of that is giving Husk Grav before. Yeah, luckily Goobs was able to actually farm up like a decent amount himself in that fight. He was able to stay alive and farm himself up quite a bit. Oh boy, that's not the play.
Has to use the self-destruct to remake. Little unfortunate, means no grab surge combo.
Look, it's a 1-for-1 in terms of Diva ults, and neither team comes out on top. It's also a trade when it comes to Reinhardt. Now
this is just incredibly messy right now.
So look at all the ultimates the DropBears have. That's the real thing.
You need to keep your eyes on Shoyo right now, because this is where he can really step up and win this for Syndey. DropBears win this point for them. If he eats the grab here, that's probably it, done and dusted. And you can see he's really waiting for it. Tita Watt gets back in the mix.
Oh. Look at that, Shatter coming through. I don't know if it found anyone. Swilko about to go down to the latest Little J. Gonna get found out as well.
So DropBears had all their members here. Look at where the cart is right now.
Where he can really step up and win this for Syndey. DropBears win this point for.
Davey is pinning over the bridge right now, and DropBears is. They had 3 people on the point, and I understand they're setting up to make a play here, but I think if they had 3 times this, they would have capped, because this cart ends up being like 7 meters away after the Rhine pinned, and they were only in 1 times for like 3 seconds. They maybe would have potentially capped here if they had just stuck 3 times the entire way. And I'm trying to see what Huss is. Did Husk get booped off? Like, why is he here? It's hard to see. Like, he wasn't close to Grav. He was at least 15% off, even if he got like pretty big right clicks. Like, that's not a reason to drop. So he either got booped off, or he was just going way too aggressive where he thought the rest of his team was going to follow up, but that is definitely not. Once you've lost your Zarya, like, there's a stat in Overwatch League, I think it's like, oh, I can't quote it exactly, like, because I don't know the number specifically, but it was like, the highest percentage of lost fights is when Zarya dies first of any team. So it's like, that's the overarching biggest statistic in Overwatch League, and that's what they've quoted a lot, is like, if your Zarya's getting caught, if she's having to use bubbles and she's dying first, been using support ults, been using anything else, unless you need to cap the point, because that offers the lowest percentage chance of actually winning a fight, and it makes a lot of sense, because she does technically the most damage in a fight. So unless she is basically grabbing and then dying instantly after, and your Ryan and Brig are able to swing into her, or D.Va's able to get a big combo, there's actually no reason to be using ults after this, because it's like, it's almost a guaranteed lost fight, especially with the position that MindFreak were in.
We'll be able to stabilize with 1:30 on the clock.
Yeah, doing pretty well here, MindFreak. Got to give them some credit. Nice grab out from Addy, nicely timed, and they also follow up on it.
It's also, if you look at this situation, once everyone's completely reset. So if you're looking at ults in this situation, the chance that Bert gets another ult is very unlikely, unless that there's a very long and extended fight for DropBears where he's allowed to sit on heal, and there's a lot of trade damage, and there's D.Va shooting behind. He's probably not going to be able to ult again. Given that DropBears are almost have Grav, Tidawat could get his ult up again, but there's not a support ult to give him the support to allow him to swing as much into the Grav, because there will be no beat. There's a chance they get trance, but it will take time, and there's a chance that maybe they can get another Brig ult, but it will also take time. So if they're looking for this play of using Grav, it will take time, and they likely will not have Tidawat able to swing into that. They likely will have to look for a D.Va bomb combo, which again will take time. And that's something that they do not have a lot of, even though it's very close to be capped. And if they potentially get a pick very early on and like are able to get a one-man grab, that might work. But they're in a situation where they have to walk back from all the old spawn and take all this ground. So they potentially get one very quick fight, or they have to extend it out and take a very long fight to potentially get as much ult up as they can to secure this point. So yeah, if you're not all using your ults super efficiently, you can put yourself in a really, really poor position.
In a bit of a situation where they kind of have to work their way back into it in terms of making it even, because right now it's still a little bit unbalanced, a little bit mismatched.
Yeah. Looking for a big self-destruct, finds a Kraken. Davey comes through as well. It's only one goes down. That's Addy, but this might be enough here. 60 seconds on the clock. The DropBears, are they going to be able to?
Did we see that Grav? Oh yes, it was on Addy. But yeah, you will get out tempoed here. Bertlog is nowhere close to his ult, and this is the fight that you do not want if you're DropBears. Is basically being in this open area. You have nowhere to retreat. Especially these zoning tools, beat and D.Va bomb being thrown. I usually don't like that, but in this open area, you are guaranteeing a fight win for yourself, because everyone's going to be out in the open. Someone's probably very likely going to die to this D.Va bomb, and then the beat is going to ensure that your Rhine, your Zarya are able to walk forward and actually swing and kill someone. So Kraken dies to the bomb. Huss is then using his Grav, which maybe if it was used a bit sooner, but they don't have anything to follow up on it, especially when all the members have to disperse. So if he's looking to grab right here, and there's literally a D.Va bomb in the air just seconds ago, multiple members were split up. There's a Rhine over here, there's a Zen over here, there was multiple members over here. They are not able to follow up onto this grab. And especially the rest of the members were playing safe because the beat was just out, and so MindFreak's tanks were in a safer spot, and they were able to walk forward more aggressively. So this Grav is going to get zero follow-up besides the damage that he is able to do. So he's able to get one kill, but he's going to get reset. The rest of his members are falling. He's getting discorded, he's getting chased down, and he's at 21% ult charge. There's 46 seconds left. He's going to respawn at 36 seconds, and it's not looking too favorable for them. Like, they're going to get run down here, they're going to get staggered, and then the fight that they're going to have is going to be very delayed, and they're not going to be able to build up all the ults that they want.
MindFreak, with the ultimates that they have right now, should absolutely be able to hold. that's really bad. A little bit of an overcommitment from him, and this is going to force MindFreak back. This is an opportunity for Syndey.
Even with MindFreak making as many mistakes as they are, they're still in a really good position.
Then what we're going to see MindFreak be able to have 6 at.
Payload pushing through. Show you what can he do with his self-destruct. What is the positioning? Shadow comes through, doesn't find what it needs to. Tita throws out one of his own.
It's probably some miscommunication. I don't know how good Tita English is, but if we see this scenario right here, yes, they want to be chasing Davy, but we can see all the DropBears members. Shoyo's literally in spawn right now. Ryan is forcing onto the cart right now, and you can see he has half health on his shield right now, and he is walking forward to the cart with the enemy Ryan right there, and all of the other members spamming his shield. There's going to be only about one spot that he can potentially reset a shield or behind the cart, but versus the Ryan v Ryan matchup, you're not going to be allowed to do that. Like, they're going to continue to spam you. They're going to all-in you, especially if you walk forward to try to reset on the cart. So he is not in a spot where he can reset a shield, and he basically gets to force... He forces himself to, like, shatter here. Like, his shield is getting melted. He has to hold the shield up. Like, it's either going to completely break, and then he's going to get guaranteed shattered, or he has to kind of, like, mind game it here. But this is only because he walked forward in the situation. There's 24 seconds left in the time bank. They have time to wait for Shoyo to come back. He's walking forward. He's, again, having to toggle his shield on and off again. But MindFreak has no pressure on them at all. Like, Davey is, like, playing it smart right here. They have the DPS advantage. They have the shield advantage. He can just sit here and hold shield, and Tita is forced to shatter. Shoyo's now back, and now they can start to pressure Davey's shield, but the shatter has already come out, and now Goobs has popped the trance, and they're going to be able to walk aggressively. Again, this is a symptom of not having the shield before. Basically, they're forced back, where MindFreak now have the advantage to walk forward with the healthy shield and the shatter up, and they're able to just shatter multiple members and really turn this fight.
Brings it through. Self-destruct going up on top of the players. Finds two. Jordan, I'm saying it right now. I'm saying it right now. This is going to be the first map that the DropBears lose of the regular season.
I'm not prepared to call it.
Let's see. There's also this scenario where a Kraken did have the opportunity here to reactive trance, and he didn't. He uses it too late. I know ideally you want to be reactive trancing, especially against shatters, but I've noticed that he consistently isn't able to do that, and he ends up using them too late, too often, where he gets greedy to hold on to them. So this is especially a scenario where he definitely should have reactively used it before he got shattered, because he potentially could have kept Tita alive. And then blocking this bomb definitely would have been a possibility for them. So it's a big symptom there of a lot of different bad mistakes due to ult economy, rushing a play that they didn't need to, not managing their shield health properly. So
this is the best chance that they have had this entire series.
They can pick a map off MindFreak. They're going to be very happy with today's result. Sorry, off DropBears. MindFreak will...
So it's very minor here, but MindFreak actually does a really good job, and it's kind of poor of Bert to go this soon for this play, but obviously the play that DropBears were looking for is basically hide the members, have Bert playing to boop someone as soon as they come across the bridge. But it's kind of like a double-edged sword in the fact that, like, you want to do that, but they were hiding so many members that it kind of reveals it, like, where if there's no sound going on, like if there's not enough spam going on, then a lot of members can end up hearing the Lucio skating, and I think that's what Davey does, or someone else calls it out. But like you can see that both of the shields end up turning towards Bert, and the cart gets stalled out, and then they have to invest cooldowns, basically, into attempting to get away. So they've used the amp speed boost, Huss has used the partner shield, you can hear them use the armor pack, and basically MindFreak's not had to invest anything, but they've just been pushing the cart. So now they're at an advantage, basically not having done anything but stand there and hold shield. And they then get to be proactive and walk forward, where they get to use their own amp speed boost, and they get to have their Rhine swing and use their cooldowns aggressively.
DropBears. MindFreak will be very happy. They're going to get onto the payload and get it through the first corner without any sort of hassle here. Jordan, what are the DropBears going to do on defense?
So they got a lot of free space for that.
For MindFreak right now, the real question is, what's their hashtag? Is it #GetFreaky? Hashtag #GetFreaky's in the chat. We'll find out. If they win this, I'm hoping to see something exciting. It's not going to be off that fight.
Can we see?
Now the real question is, what's their hashtag? Is it #GetFreaky?
Okay, they try to amp speed boost behind the building.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think for MindFreak right now, the real question is, what's their hashtag? Is it #GetFreaky? Hashtag
You can't do this if you're Davey. You can't walk around corners, especially like this swinging. Against good teams, Zen and Diva are going to be in a position to be DPSing, and unless you're investing Matrix while you're turning the corner, there's no reason to be swinging. You definitely should be swinging out, so walking out around the corner with your shield held, unless you're getting bubbled. But you do want to be waiting to use that bubble to when you're at this position, your Rhine is full health, and then you have this fight where both Rhines are looking at each other, and then it's a mind game and a team decision basically to see when do you use that partner shield on them. But if your Rhine is out at this point, and this is the point that you want to be swinging, and he's 1 HP, he's definitely going to have to just hold the shield, but then it gives the open opportunity for Shoyo either to come up here, shoot him in the back, a Kraken to just be standing where he is and just shoot him in the back, because he can't do anything besides hold shield. And then you can see how healthy Titawat is, because he's been holding his shield the whole time. Then when people are getting staggered, he still gets to continue to hold his shield, or walk forward and swing on them himself.
And if you say it's free cup, that's a terrible, terrible hashtag.
Surely that's not that. I don't believe that.
I think hashtag #GetFreaky is much better.
Alright. 3 minutes to work with. Addy will find Haas. The payload makes it round the corner. Work with. Alright. 3 minutes.
I think hashtag #GetFreaky is much better.
DropBears are in a situation where Felix was dead and is respawning right now. I keep saying Felix, I mean CCam. He was dead and he was not there, so their healing is very low right now. So a lot of times whenever you're holding close, Divas and Zaryas will be playing close and will be playing for the spam, occasionally Lucio's. And the thing that they rely on a lot of times is poking, taking damage, maybe using the shields, maybe using Matrix, but then getting that armor pack to really refill them, and then the Lucio speeding them out. If there's ever that situation where someone's getting chunked out and the Brig is not there and they're expecting to get healed, you can get caught in these scenarios where they expect to be at full HP, like take the 200 damage, come back at full HP and speed out of there. But if the armor pack doesn't show up, they end up like being 200 HP in a really bad position, and then they end up having to use amp speed boost to get away, and there's a little Harmony just keeping them up, but they may be getting shot at by 3 people. And you can see he gets discorded, and there's not enough priority maybe put on him, like being in a much safer position, and so MindFreak ended up just really running at them and like zoning them back.
Payload makes it round the corner as well. They're getting ever closer. 30 meters remains.
And still 3 minutes as well on the
So it's very minorly on Shoyo for not matrixing there, but it's definitely on Huss for being way too aggressive when CKM is dead.
Go into what could be the final fight with 6 ultimates available. They don't need to win it here.
Look at all the
They need to
ultimates
win it
they've
in 3
got.
minutes.
Just throw them out, boys. MindFreak, throw us out all your ultimates. Let's see what you can do. Goob's holding onto that trance as well. Davey has an Earth Shatter available. A Kraken, though, does have his ulti, pops the trance.
Shadow was good.
Self-destruct comes through as well, looking to find kills. It's a 1-for-1.
It's just a lot of trading here. There isn't a ton to talk about, I would say.
As well, the payload very, very close. But the DropBears
exactly right, and that was one opportunity now down the toilet.
So we can go back and talk a little bit about this. There isn't a ton. It's basically...
They don't need to win it here. They need to win it in 3 minutes.
There is a strategy that can be talked about. It's trying to fight on the cart and basically baiting DropBears out from where they're standing, because they're in like a very bunkered position right now, where if they have members who are able to use this wall, so you can see how Goobs isn't able to really hit any members right here, but a Kraken potentially has a good line of sight on multiple members right here while he's in a safe position. While this area is blocking him, he can use this wall as well. So they're in a very bunkered position where ideally, if you're MindFreak, you want to bait the DropBears members to come out into this block right here and allow yourself to use the cart to de-peek, have members hiding over here, have members using this wall to create this advantage of using the terrain, allow Swilko the chance to basically boop the Rhine forward, have multiple members playing at multiple different angles, and bait them out from the bunkered position that they're in, and play to win the fight in that aspect. If you try to press too many members too aggressively into this choke, you can potentially create an advantage for the other team, as you'll have your Rhine potentially walking in here. When he's in this area, he's potentially de-peeking a lot of members on his team, and then there's multiple members of the DropBears that can then focus on him. So this grab's okay. It forces trance basically, but they don't really get to bomb it because they don't have bomb. They don't really get to shatter it because the Rhine is standing right there with basically a full health shield. Maybe you play to break the Reinhardt shield similar to like what they had done before. Maybe not consciously, but Davey does get a chance to actually get a big shatter right here. Both Diva Bombs kind of thrown, equal trade. Trans is used late, but doesn't really get anything.
Exactly right, and that was one opportunity now down the toilet for MindFreak. They haven't managed to make it work this time, using quite a few ultimates there.
So MindFreak used 5 and DropBears used 4, so kind of even, but they do give themselves the opportunity to have multiple fights here and trade. So also I'd say their pathing is good here, taking a different path, creating a different terrain fight for you, because I think if you take the standard fight in this garden area where it's a lot of members fighting here, a lot of members fighting here, it's a lot out in the open, and it's really easy for Beat to just win you a fight. Basically, if you get the speed advantage and one team just runs at you, you both run at each other, and if the other team has multiple ults and you basically either are trading beats or the enemy team just use beat more aggressively and get more from it, they can just win a fight with one ult. And that's ideally not what you want to do, as you potentially have 3 fights here, probably 2. So creating this advantage using the terrain is really advantageous for them, because they've taken the bunker position away from the DropBears that they had before, where they had multiple members able to hide here. Now they've created a kind of bunker for themselves, but they can play around in this area. But multiple DropBears members are having to play around this area, whether they ideally don't want to be fighting.
MindFreak going to try and take the high ground, drop in over the top. What not in prime position, boot back for now, still alive. David gets charged through, he goes down. Swilko found out as well. 1:30 on the clock. MindFreak lose this fight.
I'd say this fight isn't necessarily MindFreak's fault. I'd say they were actually in a good position. They were in a good position relative to generally where you would want to fight, like given this map and given the position that they were in. The problem that they have is basically DropBears understand that they need to knock them out from there. Like, they need to get this pick, and getting Goobs down on the ground and forcing them to all drop and basically give up this advantage that they just got positionally ends up really forcing them to lose the fight. As they all drop, they drop basically all into a grav.
prime position. Boot back for now, still alive. David gets charged through. He goes down. Smooko found out.
So I think if they were able to play that fight a little bit slower, especially after the fact that Bert and Shoyo were out of the fight, basically after they had used their cooldowns, they would have been in a really good position, given DropBears would have had to reset like really out in the open. They could have controlled it. Controlled the battlefield a little bit better.
MindFreak starting to think, oh, gosh, we've only got a minute left on the clock. This might not be doable. The Syndey DropBears are going to get the 4-0. So MindFreak, the pressure is now on them.
Alright, going to come through, staying on the low ground for now. Addy looking for a big grab. Sound barrier used almost immediately there by Swilko. Not a bad start for them. Grab comes through, does catch the team off guard. Captures a lot of players actually in this one. Sound barrier used also. Looking to find Tita-Watt, not going to be successful this time around.
So I wish this was more third person. It would be better, easier to follow, but
So MindFreak, the pressure is now on them.
I think MindFreak have the right idea going right here. I would say I'm not entirely sure why DropBears are in this position. Maybe they assumed that they were going to do the high ground rotate again. But you can see Kraken's kind of in a bad position right now, as he could get run over right here and be forced to use his trance, basically because MindFreak's already used beat, so they're already going to have a very healthy tank line that are able to run forward. Addy does get a good grab right here, but there isn't necessarily the best follow-up, but part of creating all this chaos and using beat so aggressively means you can create these openings where there's a lot of members kind of spread out everywhere. And you can see the big shatter then follows after the fact. And they basically weren't able to use the walls that they were able to use over in this area where it's just giant open area, where if you're the team that's using the ults more aggressively, I'd say you can take the space, and you can see how multiple DropBears were here, 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 here. They have members back here, where if you just have all of your members centralized attacking like the core of one or two players, it's very easy to pick them off or force them to be in a bad position. And then if the Rhine ends up in one position and there's multiple other members like standing over here, then it's very easy to just hit a shatter onto them, and the Reinhardt really can't do anything about it. So I don't like DropBears' position in this scenario. I think it would have been better for them to play a little bit closer to the edge of the cart and then move out if they see MindFreak take the high ground, but
Self-destruct, Ben. If it doesn't get anything, that's probably the win now for MindFreak.
Going to be it, Jordan. MindFreak on the payload, pushing forward, trying to take
yeah, that ends up just being it.
win of the Syndey DropBears. The DropBears going to be rolling through. That's a huge earth shatter, but he can't get on the payload. It's going to happen, MindFreak.
Yeah, overall, I think DropBears made a lot more mistakes that map, and they were kind of prone to the mistakes that they were making on Hanamura, so there is definitely a lot that they can fix. MindFreak had a lot of mistakes, especially on a lot of these fights, but I'd say towards the end, once they actually stacked up some ults and then started to disrupt and like started to create some more cohesion where they created chaos and then they got shatters rather than really just running at them like they were before, or just like using ults kind of like haphazardly. I think if they get a bit more cohesion, if they use ults a bit more properly like they were here towards the end of the series, it's better for them, especially understanding that if you positionally take a fight and if you force the enemy to use ults, you can create a very strong economy for yourself where it's much easier to win later on if you are making those smart decisions earlier on and then using the time bank basically to your advantage, basically being like, the enemy team wasted 3 ults last fight, we used 1 ult to get that. We are in a position where we maybe used 45 seconds, a minute on the clock to gain that advantage, but in this scenario where they only need to get hit not even to the first checkpoint, you can use that time bank to basically bleed out ults from the enemy team, stack your own ults up, fight in a good position for yourself, force the enemy to be in a bad position, and have an ult advantage for yourself. It can create these very stark differences that can mean that you will win maps very easily given the certain circumstances that match up for you.